Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone podcast. My name is Kathy. We'd announced recently that we were going to cover the second and only case that appears on the Idaho Court's Judicial Interest Cases website, where Mr. Kohberger's case has been the sole case for a very long time. The proceeding known as State of Idaho versus Wondra was recently added. So now you have two criminal court dockets that you can access on that website completely for free. We're starting to see some differences in transparency at this very early stage of the case in Wondra as compared to Kohberger, which in my opinion was overly sealed. The Idaho versus Wondra case, unlike Kohberger, did not have a gag order or a non-dissemination order entered on day 4 of that proceeding as what happened in Kohberger. And that gag order that was requested of Judge Marshall based on a stipulation to enter that non-dissemination order was entered very early, day 4 of the Kohberger case. And that prevented anyone involved in the case that had access, for example, to evidence from giving press conferences once in a while, as you've seen in other cases, law enforcement, the prosecutor, the defense might do, give an interview, submit a press release. We saw none of that during the more than 2.5 years that that case was preceding Kohberger until Mr. Kohberger's sentence. In Wondra, there has been no motion for a gag order. There's been no stipulation for one. And hopefully, in my opinion, it will remain that way so that the public will have contemporaneous knowledge as the case is proceeding as to what this case is all about in terms of evidence and why it was that Mr. Wondra was arrested for this truly tragic case. The other key difference that we're seeing regarding transparency is that Mr. Wondra, who just made his first appearance this past week, his preliminary hearing is scheduled for December 16th, 2025, in just a few weeks down the line. Unlike in Kohberger, for better or worse, the defense agreed to postpone the preliminary hearing. Rather than have a timely preliminary hearing, they agreed in January of 2023 to have a week-long proceeding at the end of June of 2025. And that would have been when the state of Idaho would have had to stand up in court, bring in their witnesses. Their witnesses would have been subject to cross-examination. They'd have to present their evidence and convince the judge that there was enough there to bind Mr. Kohberger over for trial. That preliminary hearing never happened because in May, Mr. Thompson convened a grand jury, and grand juries operate in secret. They are called, the prosecutors show, for many reasons, including that defense isn't there. Defense can't cross-examine anyone. Defense can't bring on their own witnesses, present their own evidence. It is truly the prosecutor's show. It's the prosecutor one-sided presenting a case, and then the grand jury, what had happened in Kohberger's, came back and returned an indictment. And those were the 5 counts that he was to stand trial on in August. Hopefully, the preliminary hearing will not change. There will not be an indictment returned in the next few weeks based on a secret grand jury. Because unlike in Kohberger, that would then give the public an opportunity to understand what the evidence is. When a warrant is issued based on an affidavit of probable cause, you don't have defense counsel there before the magistrate. That is totally one-sided, like the grand jury proceeding. It's the preliminary hearing when, for all intents and purposes, a defendant has an opportunity to be heard in a courtroom and has an opportunity to confront witnesses against him or her. We're going to continue to keep you posted on both of these cases. Again, if you'd like to review the dockets, they're located side by side, Idaho Cases of Judicial Interest website. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.